Home and Away airs shock kidnap for Mackenzie and Levi. Tonight's Home and Away episodes in Australia saw Mackenzie and Levi held hostage by the men Iluka owes money to. Marley's brother Iluka arrived in Summer Bay earlier this month, making an unconventional entrance as he broke the lock to the farmhouse and sat on the sofa waiting for Marley to return. Marley was delighted to see his older brother, but he was curious as to why Iluka had suddenly decided to pay him a visit, especially considering he has a history of getting on the wrong side of the police. Not believing his brother's story that it was solely a social visit, Marley called his sister Alandra, who confirmed that Iluka was having to lay low. Iluka eventually confessed that he'd been hanging out with a group of dodgy guys known as the Allens, but when the police rocked up and arrested them all for stealing car parts, a misunderstanding led the Allens to believe that Iluka had snitched on them. He was innocent, but with the Allens out for blood, he was forced to hide away, and Summer Bay was the perfect location. When Justin's ute was stolen, Marley was quick to accuse his brother of having taken it, especially as Iluka had been questioning Theo on Justin's garage business shortly before. In the end, the car thief was revealed to be Leah, who had simply borrowed the ute for some errands, but the damage was done. Iluka was furious that Marley had accused him of being behind the theft, and revealed that he had no need to steal cars. Pulling out a bag full of cash, he revealed that he was sitting on his own fortune of $8,000. It's then that Iluka was forced to confess that he wasn't on the run because the Allens thought he'd snitched on him. He was on the run because he'd stolen $8,000 from the dangerous men. Look, it's not that big of a deal, Iluka insisted. I needed the money, so I borrowed it. When Marley asked what Iluka needed the money for, he replied the trials in Queensland. When I get signed with the NRL contract, I'll pay the Allens back every cent. We'd previously learnt that Iluka was a keen rugby player, and intended to try out for the National Rugby League NRL. While Marley had his doubts that his brother was good enough to make it as a pro, Iluka was certain that he had a great future ahead of him. Marley was furious, telling his brother that he was deluded if he thought the Allens would let the theft go. He later had a heart-to-heart with Iluka, telling him that he was too old to be trying out for a professional sporting league, and that it was time to let the dream die. Iluka eventually accepted that his brother was right, and realized that he needed to find a way to pay the gang back without facing the consequences. In the final episode of tonight's Australian Triple Bill, we learned that Marley had called the Allens, offering to give the money back, but days had gone by without a response. As Levi and Mackenzie hung out at the surf club, they were approached by a woman who overheard them talking about Marley. Pretending she was a Manta Ray Boards customer looking to pick up a surfboard, she ended up talking them into giving him the address of the farmhouse. The woman, aka Nat, the leader of the Allens' criminal gang, then headed outside where she told two burly men that she'd got hold of Iluka's address, and it became clear that the Allens had arrived in Summer Bay looking for revenge. In the final moments of the episode, it was Mackenzie and Levi who bore the consequences of Iluka's actions. The Allen trio turned up at the farmhouse, but nobody was home. They decided to wait, with ringleader Nat ordering Campbell to track down the money, and Gordy to get her a beer. With Iluka, Marley and Tane all otherwise preoccupied, Mackenzie and Levi decided to cut their afternoon short and head back to the farmhouse for some alone time, but they didn't expect to come back to a trashed house, packed full of crooks. Before long, the loved-up pair found themselves tied to chairs, mouths bound. In the final minutes of the episode, Marley returned to the farmhouse to find Mackenzie tied up. As he went to rescue her, Nat and her heavies came around the corner, demanding to know where Iluka was. The episode finished with Mackenzie and Levi both freed, but Levi was in a bad way after suffering multiple punches to the abdomen after lunging on one of the Allen brothers. Teaser spoilers for next week's episodes reveal that Mackenzie struggles to forgive Marley for inviting a criminal gang into their house. Next Thursday, spoilers ask can Marley find his brother in time, suggesting that Iluka skipped town after the incident, something which prompts Marley to call in reinforcements. Just who will he call on to help? Marley's brother arrives on UK screens on Monday the 15th of July, and The Farmhouse Siege will air Thursday the 1st of August.
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của Home and Away, Spoiler Today. Xin chào.